Well, it's certainly been a while, but we are back out detecting. And where are we detecting? Well, somewhere out here is where I got the crown, the half crown. So we're back out here, and I'm still doing around this area. So where I've found all the goodies. So still, checking out new spots a bit further afield and in between, and just seeing what signals are around. And I had an 18 down here. I've dug about 2 rivets, and that's about all today. But I had an 18, and we've got this, which, oh yeah, it's just a lump of melted metal. Until you turn it over, then it sort of looks a bit more shapely. So I don't know what it is. Might just be, I don't know. But anyway, we'll give it a clean and find out, I guess. But it's certainly got some kind of shape to it, so it's not just melted random metal. Anyway, we'll give it a clean and see what it looks like. And there we have it. That looks like a foot to me. So a brass little foot. You can see the claws there, and that's the underside. But anyway, so what it was off exactly, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking something like a clock or something. Quite often they had little feet under the clocks, or something similar. So it would have been screwed up underneath something ornate, and it would have sat on your mantel shelf or something. But there is, you can just see some threads in there. So, possibly off the bottom of a clock or something similar. But anyway, it's a cool find and not something I've found before. Well, I've been digging a lot of chunks of lead and one button, and then I had a 19 sort of number down here, and I've already cleaned her up, and that is some kind of catch. So still got a bit of iron there, so no doubt that was on a wooden box of something, and that would just swivel and lock over a little stud thing. So I reckon some kind of wooden box, and that's a catch for it. So it's quite ornate. Anyway, I'll probably be able to straighten them out without too much trouble. And there we go, a catch. There's always a catch in it. Had a persistent 16 here. I've got that, which, looking at those little lines on the edge there, I reckon it could be a 20 cent. Just at a guess. If it's silver, it should ring up higher than 16. And I reckon that's a young Queen Elizabeth there. And 1975. So that has to be 20 cent, I reckon. So there we go. Now down there is where I got the 20 cent, and I had a 13 here. And I thought, what the bet, that is another cent coin. Sure enough, we've got another coin. So that'll be a 10 cent, I'd say. Well, I have been quite void of any good finds for a while, so I don't know, it's probably been an hour elapsed since the last time I had you on. But anyway, found a few more buttons and nothing of any great interest. And toe cap, rivets, heaps of lead, and really about all. Anyway, under this tree here I had a sort of a 1718, and we have got a button, and I can see Melbourne on there, so something Melbourne. So I'll give it a clean with our little clean up for us, and we'll see what it is. It is a 2-hole button. There's a bit of dirt just wanting to stay on there by the looks. So I'll tell you what, I'll get a brush, we'll give it a good clean, and we'll be back in a tick. There we go. How's that for a nice clean button? And that is our Little of Melbourne. It seems to ring a bell. I think I've found a little button before. So 2-hole one. It could be another little, but I don't know. The name rings a bell. But anyway, it's a 2-hole button and in rather nice shape. So I reckon that's pretty nice. So no doubt at the end of the video I'll, if I can find any information about Little, I'll put it up with the photo of the button. But anyway, we'll see how we go. Round the other side of this tree from where we got the button had a 15, and we have got a square copper nail. So there we go, one of those. Out of that hole was a very uneven, fluttery 20 sort of number, but wasn't good at all. And we've got a rusty old spike out of there, and also we've got this, which looks rather like a fork folded over. So there we go, the old fork. So I don't know what type it is, but we may just give that a clean and see what we've got. So we'll be back in a tick and give it a brush. Well, here's quite a solid old fork, I've got to give her that. And she has got a bit of lovely patterning there, so quite a lovely old fork. Possibly been a bit burnt on the top there. But anyway, the old fork. And rather a solid chunky one too. Had some good 20 numbers down here, and we've got that. I did just earlier find a hinge, a brass hinge, and now we've got this, which has got some patterns on it. Looks like the lid off something. So give that a brush and see how it comes up. Well, it's quite an ornate little bit of brass. As exactly to what it was, I don't really know. It's definitely got a hinge here, but it's also got a bit of a hinge on that side or something. So I don't know how that worked, but anyway. So off a little brass box of some sort, I'd say. Anyway, it's quite ornate. And out of there we got that, which looks rather like a clock key or a clockwork key, but I don't know if it's been, I know, I think, I don't know, maybe that's just a handmade thing someone's made to fit in there, because it looks awfully sharp, and either that or it's been cut off. But I'd nearly say that's a bit of a homemade job, that one. So for the sake of time, we'll clean that up later and have a look. But it does look rather unprofessionally. Just looks like a chunk of cop has been put in there. Anyway, so I'll clean that one up later, but that's rather interesting. And here we had a 20, and we've got that, which I reckon looks rather like a ornate bit of trim off something. So we will give that one a quick clean and see what we've got. There we go. Nearly say that is a candlestick holder or a lamp holder. Could be off a piano or something of the like. It's sort of got like viney leaf patterns up it, and got a round like a hinge bit there. So anyway, possibly off an old piano maybe. The cambarellas, or what are they called? Candlestick holders. Anyway, that's a nice bit of brass, but can't quite see. There must have been something more out this way, I think. So I'd nearly say that's off a piano, judging by that angle. Anyway, now I am rather out in the thick of it here, and I'm sort of wandered a fair bit further away than I have in the past. So new ground, and I'm just bush bashing around trying to find if there's any more sort of building sites or just signals in general out here. And there's a few bricks around here, so I thought that was a good sign. And then I had an 18 near this old stump here, and we have got that. So what is that? Looks a bit like, and it is too, it's a bow tie. So I reckon that might be a brooch. So anyway, I'll give that a clean and we will see what sort of patterning we've got on that. And there we go. So it's got these patterns on it, and it is a brooch, I would say. Oops, because it has got the clips on the back. So anyway, certainly unusual. Absolutely beautiful. So quite a nice big one too. It's not a tiny brooch. We are out once again at the settlement site. The not the one I've been to a million times, but the newer one. And I've been wandering around in a sort of a new area and haven't had any signals at all really. Then I stumbled across a 15-16 here, fair way down, and we've come up with that, which I haven't cleaned it up yet, but I'm not quite sure what that is. It's got a little knob here like a winder, and I don't quite know what else, so I'll give that a clean and we'll have a look, see what we've got. Well, that's certainly a bit of an unusual thing to what I've ever found. It's got the little winder there, so you'd nearly assume there's a wick coming up out of that hole there. So it nearly has to be a tiny little lantern. So whether it was used for chemistry or something like that, a little burner, I don't know. But if it was a lantern, it was very tiny, and I don't know whether all these tab things here are what held the glass chimney at the bottom, but anyway, it's certainly a tiny little one compared to what you normally find, so don't quite know. There's nothing on the stem there, just a bit of patterns, so no dates or makers or anything. But anyway, it's certainly a little tiny lanterny thing of some kind, and there is threads there, so it would have screwed onto a little base for the lamp oil to refill it and that, and must have a little round wick. Anyway, interesting. I've never found one quite that small before, but anyway, we'll see if there's any other signals around. But so far that's the only signal I've stumbled across. Had a 15 down here, sort of beside that track here, and it took a while to get him loose, so I hope I haven't cut him in half, but it looks rather like a big old spoon. There we go, look at that guy. A little bit thin and worn, but that's a nice big old spoon. So anyway, don't know whether that's a tablespoon or just a normal dessert spoon, because they were fairly big spoons back then. They certainly wanted you to shovel that food in. And we've got another one of those down here, corset fastener. I don't know whether they were used on any other garments other than a corset, but considering it's got the iron band on it, I'll nearly say it's a corset one, but anyway. Well, we've got a good number here, and it's fairly deep. It's a little bit high for a rivet washer, but that doesn't really mean anything. It could be a slightly larger one, or just one playing tricks, but we're going to see what it is. So, probably going to be a rivet washer, but we'll see. Sort of 25, 26 numbers. Yeah, clod. Doesn't sound as good now. You jolly rotter. Wouldn't that rot your socks? Had a 19 down here, and apart from a bit of bone, we also got that. Whatever that is. Something that's been squashed by looks. Don't know what it is. Don't know. Looks like it's been a bull. So is that an old bell or something? Although it's pretty light. Yeah, don't know. It's been round at some stage. and it looks like it's got a slotty thing at the bottom. May have had a loop, may have been flat on the bottom, I don't know. Now just over there somewhere is where I got the 15. I dug a shoddy end and a few bits of rubbish, and you know, there's a few signals here, so that was good. And then I had a 20 sort of number here, and we've got a rock which I'm assuming is a part of brick because there's no other rocks in the ground here, so some kind of flat rock, and it does look a bit bricky there, and a bit of glass, and our 20 is that one sitting on the side of the hole there. It does rather look like a penny, so we'll do him the honours, give him a clean up and see what we've got. Looks like I might have just given him a little tap there, but not too badly. Anyway, we'll give him a clean and see what we've got. Well, the dirt's not really wanting to shift too much on that, but I'll give it a bit of clean at home. But I did get a date off it, which is 1874 down there, Britannia, and well, Queen Victoria's on there, a bit hard to see, but anyway, the old dirt's really sticking to it. But anyway, it's a Britannia 1974 penny, so that is pretty cool. And seeing we've got a few signals in this area, we'll see what else pops up. 5, 6 pickup sticks. We had a 910 here, but instead of a big fat hen, we've got a button, so we'll give him a clean. There's some kind of writing on it, and we'll see what we've got. And it is a Best Solid Eyelet. So the Best Solid Eyelet button, and it looks like the eyelets are good, but it's starting to crack here, so it's obviously not a best rim edge. Anyway, underneath me here is where I got the penny and a button here, so we're doing alright for signals in this area, which is a good sign, so hopefully there's a few more hiding around. Sort of a 7-8 number here, and we've got another button, and it's a bit of a different one with the bar across it. I don't believe it's got any writing on it, so I think it's a pretty plain one, so we'll leave it at that. But anyway, another button in this area. Well, I think we've started on a button streak for the afternoon. There's nothing wrong with that, but they've all been different so far. And I had a 16 down here, and we have got that rusty looking thing, but I've already cleaned him. Flip him over, we've got a lovely pattern on this other side. So a little brass round button, and it's had an iron hoop there and probably an iron back. But anyway, it's an interesting one. Can't say I've ever found one quite like that before. We've got some good sort of numbers here. It's a little bit jumpy, but we're going to live dig it and see what it is. Find it again. So it seems to be a bit of interference blocking the signal a bit, but anyway, we'll have a dig and see what we come up with. Hopefully not just a rivet. Sounds better now though. So I think it's pinpointer time, and we'll see what it is. It's got to be just here somewhere. And I don't quite like the look of that. Looks somewhat like a rivet washer. So there you go. Those things. Had a 15 here just near where I got the rivet washer. And we've got another button by the looks. But being a 15-16, it's a bit higher numbers, so hopefully it's going to be something different. So can't see anything yet, but I'll give it a clean and see what we've got. Cleaned up rather nicely, that one. So that is a NE Plus Ultra button, the very best. So anyway, it's a nice solid chunky looking button. So we'll keep going, but we're on a bit of a button dash this afternoon by the fields. Another 9-10 numbers down here, and there is definitely bits of bricky stuff coming out of this hole. And we've got a anchor button. So I do believe it's just a plain anchor with no crown above it, and it's had a metal back which has gone. So we'll clean that one up later. Got a beautiful clear 23-ish sort of number here. I was really not going to turn you on because I'm sure it's going to be a rivet washer, but if I don't, it's going to be a coin. So I'll leave you on, I'll turn you on and see what it is. So let's see if I've got it. And I have, it's in here somewhere. And of course, what did I say? It's a rivet washer. Bit of a sort of 9-10 numbers here, and we've got one of our old friends, the corset fasteners. So just a plain one, I think. It's got quite a big hole on that one. This one was an 11 down here, and not quite sure what it is, but I reckon all this stuff fell out of it, which is like a, I don't know what it is. It's not glass, it's some kind of stuff. That was all in there and it dropped out, but I reckon could possibly have had a pin across there. So some kind of cheap little brooch, I'd say. Anyway, I'll clean it up at home and have a better look, but I nearly think that's what it is. But it was only 11, so it's pretty cheap little one, I'd say. Anyway, just behind me is where I got that little brooch thing. Had an 18 here, flipped it out and I've got something there. Looks kind of interesting. So let's see what it is. Just a bit of trim, I think. A bit twisted. So a bit of trim, fancy trim or something. Anyway, it's a nice bit of brass work. So I don't know whether that's a elephant's trunk or what. Anyway, I'll clean that one up later, and you'll see him in the end of the video. One of those big chunky reed boxes. So out of a accordion of some sort, I can only say. Rang up at 28. Anyway, 6 notes on that one piece, so it might tell you it was a button accordion. Anyway, I dug a old toe cap just here somewhere underneath this stick, and I had another signal here, 18. It's got another piece of that trim. Looks exactly the same as the other one, except it's not twisted. So I don't know what it was off, but it's quite pretty underneath the dirt. So anyway, hopefully we'll find some more of it to solve what it was. But anyway, 2 bits of it. We'll see how we go. Got a thimble. You can see the impression there where it was sitting. So anyway, the amount of buttons I've found in the short time I've been here, I really think if I stay here all night I'll get a truckload. There's that many of them here, all different numbers and sizes and shapes, and anyway, none of them so far have had any makers' names on them. But anyway, we'll keep steaming on and see what else we can find before we shoot home. 19 here, and we've got another piece of our trim, and it looks the same as the last bit, except it's got a bit more on the bottom here. So 3 identical bits. I wonder what it was off. Something that repeated, so Nelly must have went along the same pattern, but they're all broken off there, so I don't quite know. Some kind of trim off something. Anyway, I'll put him with his friends and I'll see them all later. Might find a few more bits yet. Bit of a carpenter's ruler down here. So anyway, when I first found that 15 little lantern top, had no idea I was walking into such a area of signals, because there was nothing else, nothing around for ages, and then just shows you never know when you're gonna come across a area of signals. So there's certainly quite a few signals around this particular area. Well, we're going to head back to the car, so this could be our last signal. There's a 12 down here. Don't know what it is, but it's hollow. So a little bit of ornamentation of something. Anyway, pop it in the pouch and keep it going. Heading back to the car. There's a bit of dint in it, but it's got the loop still on the back. So I've got a pair of them now. I'm pretty sure it's the same pattern under the dirt there. Anyway, the last one back to the car, maybe. Still haven't made it back yet, but Richard Little was born in Ireland in 1824 and arrived in Melbourne in 1850. At first he was in a partnership with his father William as W and R Little, but in February of 1854 William left the partnership to operate on his own, whilst Richard and his brother John continued together. From 1859 he traded only under his own name, and then from 1884 as R Little and Co. So the button I found here is somewhere between 1859 and 1884. Unfortunately, in August 1899, it was reported that after he'd been missing for some days, his hat was found floating in the Yarra River. A couple of weeks later, his body was found. Sometime after his death, the firm became known as Little and Co., and they continued until 1918.